Alright, welcome along to a new episode. We're going to get into something that I think is going to help a lot of us out there, and something that I struggled with a lot at the very beginning, particularly when it came to the content around short films and indie film content. The biggest thing that you're going to face in life is that imposter syndrome. So we're going to talk about this here, with how to conquer that imposter syndrome, with a few strategies for overcoming your self-doubt. Number one is to acknowledge your feelings. Recognize that what you're feeling is imposter syndrome. Understanding and accepting your feelings is the first step towards overcoming them. Number two is to identify your triggers. Pay attention to situations or circumstances that trigger feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt. By identifying these triggers, you can work on addressing them directly. Number three is to challenge negative thoughts. Whenever you catch yourself thinking negatively about your abilities or your accomplishments, challenge those thoughts. Look for evidence that contradicts your negative beliefs. Number four is to celebrate your achievements. Keep a record of your successes and accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. Remind yourself of those achievements when you start to doubt yourself. Number five is to seek support. Talk to friends, family, or a mentor about your feelings of imposter syndrome. Sometimes simply sharing your thoughts with someone else can help you gain a new perspective. Number six is to set realistic goals. Break down your bigger goals into smaller, manageable, achievable tasks. This can help you build confidence as you make progress towards your objectives. Number seven, and an old favourite of mine, is to practice self-care. Take care of your physical and mental well-being. Make sure you get enough rest, regular exercise, and engage in activities that will help you relax and recharge. Number eight is to focus on learning and growth. Instead of striving for perfection, focus on learning and growing from your experiences. Embrace challenges as opportunities for development. Number nine, imposter syndrome journaling. Keep a journal where you write about your feelings of imposter syndrome, reflecting the thoughts and experiences to gain insight into your triggers and your patterns. And number 10, professional help. If imposter syndrome is significantly impacting your life or your mental health, consider seeking help from a therapist or a counsellor. They can provide you with strategies and support tailored to your needs. So there are my tips on imposter syndrome, and I do have some personal things to share with you here whenever it comes to this here. This is something that is very, very important for you to deal with and find strategies for keeping your head above it all, because this is one of these things that's going to, like, you start out to do something. Now, I can only give you experiences from content creation and whatnot, but it doesn't just apply to this sort of thing. Like, you could have something completely different in mind that you want to do with your life. And trust me now when I tell you, when you start out to do something, there's going to be somebody there that's hoping, really counting on the fact of this imposter syndrome whenever it comes to you actually stepping into a different arena. I have seen it before. I have experienced it myself. Now, I'm not going to share the exact name of this person, because I'm hoping that one day that this child will actually grow up and let people be who they are instead of who they think that they should be. Like I said at the very beginning of this episode, it came down to the indie film environment for me in a big, big way. Now, whenever I was first starting out into that, the difficulties that I had and will still have whenever I eventually do get the next project off the ground is the fact that I'm 100% self-taught. And when you step out into that arena, you're going to come across people that have been to universities and whatnot, and they've got qualifications in the arena. Now, if you look back on the YouTube channel here, Here's Rodder's Vlogs, I have a video where I actually took the certificate that I had in film and TV production and actually burned the thing, just out of the sheer fact that I just wanted it out of my life and the freedom that it gave me, because the imposter syndrome that I was suffering going through a few projects back in the day, conclusions as well. The best short film that I've actually created at this point, in my humble perspective, it was through people that felt that I shouldn't have been there because it was self-taught, and I felt the need that I had to run out and try and get this qualification just to prove the fact that I could be there in the first place. That's essentially what it boiled down to. Like, I spent my time for years watching movies, reading articles on how movies was made, watching behind the scenes documentaries, DVD extras, the whole 9 yards, going out trying to make a short film, falling over my feet, tripping, flatten my mouth and nose, back up, we'll try it again. And eventually I started getting better and better. But again, when you get into that, people would pick up on little things that a self-taught person may not know, not having been in a university or college environment. You know, it is what it is. But as soon as these people would clack on to something like that and have something on there, they would realise, okay, this guy's kind of slipped slightly here. I'm going to apply the pressure on him more and more. Now, there was an asshole producer that I had on a short film prior to conclusions that literally spent, I'm trying to remember the time frame right now because it's been a long time ago. He didn't get on with me from day one on this little short film project we had, and it was only a 2-day sort of a thing, but the pressure started to be applied in the very last day of the shoot, where he tried to change the original agreement on the short film. He couldn't get his way 100% on the short film. He had butted heads over how the film should have been taken. He was wanting to cut a few things from it. I felt they shouldn't be cut because you needed this to make something else make sense. And he had made a few plans himself. And, you know, we butted heads, and eventually I shot it the way I wanted to shoot it, essentially. He wasn't happy about it. And the last day of production, he decided he was going to take the edit of the short film out of my hands. Now, the original agreement coming into this at the very beginning was I was to do the directing side of things and edit the short film. And because of that, when you are directing and editing a short film project, it is very, very different from directing something that's going to be edited by someone else. So I have found over the years that the record keeping process of the shooting process of a short film can be really, you don't need as much as far as record keeping goes whenever it comes to the fact that I'm going to be editing the thing. So I hadn't kept some of the records. You would say that's very, very unprofessional of you to do that, but it is what it is. The original agreement was I was directing, editing, so it didn't need that, so I didn't get it. And of course, that was a point of contention. There was a lot of arguments over that. I was like, somebody else editing this short film is going to be lost in certain pieces of it because of these records of, you know, that you should have got weren't there, you know. So I had to fight the case because of that. You know, if you had told me at the very beginning that you were just going to pull the edit out from below me and give it to someone else, I would have kept the records that, you know, you're complaining about now. So fought on, and eventually got to do the final edit myself. And for months, years after that, I would go for maybe a couple of months with no word from this guy at all. Like 6 months down the line, I get an email out of the blue one day about how terrible a person I am, that I should never be doing short film content. And like, it would be fair enough if this was something that was 100% anchored in the creation side of things. But this guy had went to the point where, and this is all about imposter syndrome. Because if you, it's important to let it out there, deal with it and whatnot, but someone that claps onto it and runs with it is going to see this guy took personal things as well, you know. And it was something like a fat guy. Like this is the sort of stuff that all come into it. You know, it's ridiculous at the end of the day where this kid went with the whole thing. He just had picked out personal things that had absolutely nothing to do with like indie film or content creation, whatever label you want to put on it. And he would start to just put it this way, right? Because I don't want to put that stuff out there, the personal stuff. But through the process of doing all that sort of thing, you're going to come across people that are going to be treating you in a friendly manner at some point during it. And we were at the very beginning, before the project even came up, we were part of a group as well. So he had picked up on a few things on me and ran with it. And, you know, think of it. Okay, make a list in your head right now. I don't want to know what it is, so don't get into the comments or anything like that there and start telling me. But we all have certain insecurities about ourselves. And now, obviously, looking at me, you could think, okay, this guy he's obviously pretty overweight at the moment, so he's obviously a fat kid. So all that sort of stuff. Take a list of your insecurities. Like, I don't need to be reminded of my shortcomings. That was one of the things I had said to this guy during the whole thing whenever he sent this email out. But imagine getting an email from someone that treated you very, very unprofessionally, and they send you a list of things, shortcomings of you, both professionally and personally. Like, I mean very, very, very personal stuff, like some stuff that you would never want someone to throw in your face. That's the sort of thing that this guy was doing. So like, this was an example of me not just struggling with imposter syndrome, but somebody jumping on board of getting things about the stuff that I was insecure about and then using that as a weapon against me. It was a disaster. Like, I was I'm not going to lie, in that situation of my own, there was a part of me wanted to knock the guy out. I just had let it go, and I just kind of, you know, as I say, we were part of a group at a time that put together people that were interested in similar things and get something off the ground. So the way I left it was, I just turned my back on the group, more or less. Didn't fall out with anyone, but the guy that was the head of the group, I forwarded the email over to him. I was like, you know, there's disagreements going on here, so that's the sort of thing that's going on with him. You know, he's sending this sort of stuff to keep as many arguments going as he can with me. So, you know, if you want to keep him in your group, fair enough, and we'll just leave it at that. So, it is what it is. But as far as that short film went, the kid, when I'm looking back on it now, was dealing with some major problems of his own as far as the imposter syndrome went, because this guy had went to university, he had got the degrees, and he was dealing with imposter syndrome as well, and acting out towards me because of it. And I do, from time to time, go back to the channel where that short film is located. I didn't keep it as mine. Technically it wasn't mine, he was the producer, so it falls into the ballpark of his short film more than my own. But it was a great experience for me. But yeah, there's part of me that wants to, every once in a while, as I say, I'll go back to that YouTube channel to see how the short film is doing as far as view counts on it goes, because, you know, the guy moved on, did a few projects of his own after it, and there's only about four maybe five short films on that channel, including the one that I had directed and edited. And it is, after all the disagreements me and him had, the short film that I had directed and edited, as far as the view counts in that channel goes, it's the number one upload that he has on that channel. So there's part of me, every few months, not as often as he used to, like the last time I checked it was like 4 months ago at this point, and it was still well ahead of the rest of the stuff. So the guy that was, in his perspective, that shouldn't have been good enough to direct and edit the short film actually ended up doing a better job than a guy that was trained to direct and edit things. So you just do what you need to do moving forward. Deal with that imposter syndrome, and eventually you'll get to that point where, with that short film, I can look at that now and say to myself and this asshole producer that was on it, look, I have my own self-doubt here. I don't need it to be sent to me in an email where I can actually read it about my shortcomings and whatnot. I have my own self-doubt working with imposter syndrome, but after everything was said and done on that project, take a look at the numbers there. Like the self-doubt that I had, the imposter syndrome that I had, at the end of the day, there was nothing there to justify it, because I did the project worked, and everything that we went through was, again, the imposter syndrome on the other guy's side. So, he has to deal with the fact that, that I was better than him at the end of the day. And I hate saying that about myself and situations. Like it doesn't feel good coming out of me that I'm better than you, sort of thing. And I don't want to say that to anybody, but I'm not going to lie, there is times where I check that channel and I kind of just want to give it a little screenshot and kind of just send it to the guy and go, there, tell me I'm bad now. So, but that's not the sort of person I want to be. But that is a story, true thing that happened there, and it all comes from imposter syndrome on both sides of the coin. So hopefully that helped. If it did, let me know. And again, I don't want to hear anything about any of personal things that's going on with you as far as imposter syndrome goes. But if you have a few little stories that you would feel comfortable kind of talking about, feel free to do it. It'll go no further from me. So that's going to do it. If you're on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. If you're on the podcast, I appreciate you. Until the next episode, stay safe, and I will talk to you all then.